Namaste and welcome to yet another exciting episode of Logistics Pe Charcha. I am Prajakta Karnik, editor of Logistics Outlook magazine, and today we have with us Mr. Jitendra Srivastava. He is the CEO, Triton Logistics and Maritime. Welcome, Mr. Jitendra, to our studio.
Thank you, Prajakta.
Okay, just to begin with, I would like to understand from you. You got into this sector, which is one of the most happening sectors today. What brought you into this sector, and how has your journey been?
Prajakta, when I started my journey or my career in this sector, it was not the sector which you are looking at today. But yes, when I was doing or when I completed my master's in business administration and I was offered a job in this industry, in the logistics industry, with a German multinational, something which really fascinated me about it is that how strong the entire logistics and supply chain can be a backbone for any industry. Although at that point of time, it was very different from what you see today. It was never on the forefront. But when you start looking into it and when you realize the kind of the core strength it provides to the overall industry and any industry, it was amazing. It was amazing to know that how we are making sure that something is right from its production or even before the production stage. We as a supply chain or a logistics professionals are involved into that journey, and we keep on being involved till the time it is consumed by the end consumers. So we were doing a lot of work on the hindsight of it, if you look at it. But that is something which really fascinated me, and it made my journey very exciting. I could see a lot of areas where we as logistics professionals has been contributing to various industries, to various consumers, and that is something which always kept me going. And of course, we have come a long way from there. So it has evolved many-fold, Prajakta, into different aspects as well. So when I started my journey almost 2 decades back, more than 25 years, we have seen that how from a very manual driven process it has changed to something which is more let's say technology driven, more process driven. There are certain ways in which we have also seen that how it has come to the forefront of acknowledging that how supply chain is so important in day-to-day life. Many aspects are there which has kept this whole supply chain moving. And again, as I always say that let's look at what happened or what COVID brought us to the table, and this is a line which I always try to create, because it gives a very distinct difference between how it was and how it is today, and the important part is that how it will be in future. So there was a time when before the COVID era when logistics was not something which was discussed in the boardroom. It was discussed at a higher level. It was always thought to be something which is there, non-existent.
It is just there.
It is just there, So nobody gave that due importance to this industry, which actually is the backbone of the complete cycle of a product of any industry. You take it, whether it is your consumer durables, or you take your medicines or your food. Everything is driven by logistics and supply chain, and it has always been driven that way. So the post-pandemic, what has done is that the kind of disruption it created in the entire supply chain brought to the table that how important it is when you have the container shortages, when you had that port congestions, when you saw that things were not reaching out to the people in time, and we all realized that everything is disrupted, broken, because the supply chain is broken. And during that time, we were called to be the warriors who were bringing everything to the table. I mean, we brought food to the home, we brought medicines to the people who were not really well at during that time. Of course, you have heard about the COVID vaccination, how it has reached to the entire world, and we got out of it. So that is what has really changed, and suddenly now the logistics and supply chain is being discussed not only at the boardroom but even at the C-level, directly getting involved into this. Apart from that, you also see a lot of technological advancement which has happened. There's a lot of automation and digitalization which has started coming in. in supply chain. And this is now here to stay. It has stayed back and it is here to stay because this is how the entire supply chain today is driven. Not only from the automation and from the, let's say, digitization point of view, but also look at the way we look at supply chain today, how important it is in our day-to-day life. The mindset or the way we are thinking about logistics has changed, and not only as a consumer, but also as a manufacturer, also as a producer, also as the one who is coming into different any kind of an industry and reaching out to our customers. That is what has made supply chain very critical today, and it has changed a lot. As we mentioned, that it has evolved from where it started to where we are today.
COVID has been one of the game changers in this entire industry. Given that the kind of challenges that we are also seeing right now, considering the geopolitical tensions that are increasing, war is happening. That kind of disruption is a lot. What is your take? How is the industry shaping and trying to overcome these challenges? Because every day something new is happening.
So there are many factors. There are many disruptions, or let's say the challenges which is in front of the logistics industry today. One of the most critical thing which we are facing today is the shortage of let's say manpower. During a recent study, it was revealed that almost 70 to 75% of the organizations globally are facing manpower shortage today. There is also a situation where there is the difference between demand and supply is increasing. We have got a lot of demand and there is a supply constraint. Almost we have today a load factor of around 62 to 65%, means there is not enough supply which we are able to create vis-a-vis the demand. Apart from that, you also see there are delays in the processes. There are a lot of things which are still being done on a manual basis. All these things needs to change, and these are very practical challenges which the industry is facing today. The air freight is growing. Today we are talking about a surge, and the International Air Transport Association today has said that we have grown by almost 5.8% on a CAGR on the air freight side of it. But the capacity is not growing to that extent. We are talking about moving 80 million tons of air cargo, but there are delays. So these kind of disruptions or the challenge are still there. Then we also talk about the automation which is happening. We are also talking about the kind of skilled manforce which we have today. Now these are challenges which we are facing, and we have to come out of it in a very, I would say, in a very way which encompasses a lot of lateral mind shift today. How we are looking at things, how we are trying to create those platforms where people start thinking in a different way. Our thought process should start becoming cross-sectoral. We should be more strategic in our approach. So these things are there which are changing or shaping up the entire industry, and these kind of challenges are there to remain unless we get more organized, we get more structured, we are more formalized in our approach. And of course the investment, you see a lot of pressure or challenges which are coming, which will come because of the green logistics. Now there is a lot of pressure on what kind of sustainable logistics solutions we are providing to the customers. This all require investments, and these are the costs today which you incur in a short term, and the returns are spread over a year, period of time. So is everybody prepared to do that? So these are very challenging, burning questions which are in front of the industry, which industry is trying to come out with.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure that it's a very dynamic industry. The way we are looking at it is completely different. The mindset is changing, it's shifting. So I'm very bright about the future of the logistics industry. It is not what it was, and it will not be what it is today. And that is how it is going to be in the future.
When you talk about a bright future for India, the kind of infrastructure development that we are seeing right now, do you think that is sufficient, or there's something more that needs to be done? And how about you mentioned about investments, but are the private sector is it willing to invest more, or you're expecting still from the government a lot of help to come?
Prajakta, again, I'll go back to the pandemic time, towards the COVID time. The situation was such that we were, as an industry, investing a lot into automation, into technological shift, into how do we create solutions to reach out to the customers. And almost 60 to 65% of the organization today continued the same way what they did during the COVID. So this means the changes which they incorporated were remained there and they stayed there because we saw the value behind it, and we saw that how it shapes up not only the service efficiency, not just that we are looking at the cost factor side of it, but we are also looking how easy it is becoming for our customers to get their supplies, to make sure their supply chain gets robust, to make sure that they are where their customers are. Now, these things have been very critical and the companies have invested a lot. But I would also say that there are still almost 35 to 40% of organizations or the players who have not been able to sustain that kind of investment model which was there. And I don't blame them because all these investment also needs a return at a point of time. But from where I look at it, it slows down the pace of changes or gearing up towards the new kind of supply chain or logistics which is happening. So people are investing today. There are certain things which are also on the regulatory side of it, and I would say you say how Europe is shaping up today. You are looking at all those carbon border mechanism which is coming in. There are other pressure for the greener logistics which are coming in. Now these are all short-term investments or a cost for an organization, but can we get away with it? No. We have to deal with it. It is coming, it is there. We need to change and adapt ourselves to make sure that that we come out with solutions which are very, very important, because a recent survey has shown that almost 60% of the customers today, they are thinking about using a service provider who adapts the ESG principles or who has done something for the sustainability today. And that is important because we have to read the customers how they are thinking. So we have no choice. We have to change ourselves, and that is critical. That is important today. If you look at some of the research, you will find out that a product life cycle, 80% of the carbon emission which is coming out from the entire product life cycle is coming out from supply chain. That's huge. A rough estimate says it's almost like 28,000 metric tons of carbon emission, which only supply chain does at a global level. And it's huge. So this means that we have to think about it. We have to talk about greener logistics. We have to talk about alternative fuels. We have to do investments into this area, because if we are not aware, the regulations are getting aware about it, the customers and the consumers are getting aware about it. And more important than that, I think today the world needs it. We need a sustainable, greener world not for us, but for our future generation. And I think we as a logistics provider, as a supply chain provider, we also have a responsibility there to make sure that these things are curtailed, these things are reduced. It's a cost, and I fully agree and I can understand that it's a cost, but it's one necessary evil which we will have to take and make sure that it gets imbibed into us. One of the things which is very important for which we have been reading all through our life is the only constant thing in the world is change. But unfortunately, the most difficult part to adapt is change. I always see as a paradox that something which is always there, which is constant, and that is the most difficult thing to adapt and imbibe. Fortunately, unfortunately, whichever you want to put it, but that is something which is there, and we have to adapt to the sustainability. We have to look at the ESG part of it. We have to look at, and there are regulations which are coming in. There are the rules and the laws which are coming in. So it's very important for us to understand it and move forward.
That's great. When you talk about regulations and government imposing many regulations, but what about the infrastructure support that we require? Right now, we are seeing the government, coming up and talking about creating more airports. You have the Navi Mumbai airport, one of the largest that we are seeing. One is planned near the Vadhavan port. So those kind of infrastructure creation, those developments, how are you looking at that enabling more air freight growth?
So I believe, Prajakta, there are a lot of focus, and there's a lot of things which are being done from the government side of But what I want to touch here is that there are many areas where the government is trying to add value to the supply chain, which is critical. Now, building up roads is one thing which you look at from the infrastructure side of it, but from a supply chain point of view, you see that how it reduces your delivery times, how it reduces the logistics cost, and some of the areas where I think today where we are growing, and that's something which I recently heard or read somewhere, that in the next 5 to 6 years, almost 30% of our long haul transportation is going to go into an autonomous mode because of all these developments which are happening, the investment which the government is doing, and it is estimated that it is going to cut down your delivery timelines by almost 40% and your logistics cost by almost 20-25%. That's something substantial. Very recently there has been national by Ministry of Finance, there was a national time release study which just came out, which is talking about cutting the release of the import consignment, the time by almost 70 to 75%, and that is something which adds a lot of value. These are something which is the results or the output of the investments which is being done by the government. And I think this is where we as a supply chain service provider or logistics service provider, we feel that this is the value which is going to add on to the entire supply chain cycle of any product. And this is what it is critical, much more critical than what we are looking at it. I mean, 60-65% of the air freight clearance is done within 24 hours today. And this is a remarkable feat, and we are going to expand this. I mean, this time is going to reduce on one side of it, and the aim is to make sure that 100% of the cargo, except for a couple of them I can understand, but most of them should be cleared within that time frame. That is the time you cut down and you make your supply chain more efficient, a faster, leaner, which we all talk about. So from my point of view, those kind of things are very important. We are talking about drones today. We are talking about all those the aircrafts and whatever you call it, so it's reducing the lead time, reducing the delivery timeline for all the high value cargo, let's say, or the something which is very urgently needed by somebody. It could be medicine, it could be like an organ transplant, let's say, for example. Now these things are such a strong value add to the supply chain of any product, and this is where I think with all those investments which are coming from the government, and it's not just the investment in terms of the infrastructure of the port build up or the road build up, or where we say that dedicated freight corridors are being created. All those things are there, but what I'm trying to say here is that the whole framework of expediting the supply chain is super critical here, and this is where we are getting into now. Gradually we are talking about getting into a framework where things are getting faster, the infrastructure in terms of resilience in the supply chain, a faster supply chain, reaching out to your customers or your consumers in a very quick turnaround time. Those things are very important, and that is where I think we are on the right track. It's a very positive way we are moving. From my experience, I can tell you, when I look at the late 90s or early 2000, when I was there in the industry, the gap between us and let's say US or Europe, how logistics was happening, it's been cut down drastically. Today, what we are offering is almost at par with any of these Western world you can think of. It was not there 20 years back. There was a big difference between our infrastructure and their infrastructure, and I think we have come a long way there. And the most important thing is that we are not stopping. We are definitely not stopping here, and the way things are moving, I'm sure India is going to become a superpower, not only in terms of all the other things, but definitely in the logistics and supply chain. I am 100% confident that we are going to become one of the leaders in this superpower in the world.
There is always a debate about the logistics cost. We have arrived at some magical figure, 14%, and then we want to come down to 8-9%. Is that the situation currently? Are we still at 14%, or have we already reduced the cost to a larger extent?
Prajakta, one of the the most important thing in the entire supply chain is the logistics cost. And in different industries, the cost of the product, the logistics spend or the logistics cost has always been one of the very important factors which was always discussed even with the customers. So as a logistics service provider, we are always under tremendous pressure of cost cutting. And that comes across industries, whether you are moving garments or whether you are moving pharma or whether you are moving automotive spares. But logistics spend or the logistics cost is very, very important factor. The logistics cost is not just about moving a product from a point A to point B. There are many other factors which are involved and which are not seen, not measurable in terms like there are efficiency. There is a fuel which is being burned. There is a time in which the infrastructure is supporting for a product to reach from point A to point B. There are the kind of the processes which you are doing today. So there are many things which contribute and constitute the logistics spend. So coming back to you, yes, today we are sitting at 13-14% of the GDP as a logistics cost, which is huge. And the way the infrastructure is being built up, and one of the outcome of building up of this infrastructure is to reduce the logistics cost, because we need to reduce the transit time. We need to reduce the fuel consumption which is happening there. We need to reduce the jams or the traffic stalls which are happening, where you are not only wasting your time but also wasting a lot of fuel. You are also contributing to a lot of carbon emission and all those stuff. But the point here is that with all this infrastructure built up, what happens is that you have a faster transit time. You burn less fuel. The goods are reaching faster than it should have reached there. Now, all this is reducing your logistics cost into something which is non-productive. Rather, I would take that cost, non-productive cost, out of that logistics spend and invest into an technology or a process development or human skills development, so that they can contribute even more efficiently in reducing my logistics cost. So the aim today is that we want to reduce it to almost 7-8%, 9%. It's a big challenge still, but I think, as I said, we are moving in the right direction. Our heart is in the right place. We are doing everything right. Yes, it may get delayed a little bit. I can understand there are challenges. There are always challenges in anything you do, whether it is a business or whether any efforts. The growth is never a straight line. It's always a bumpy ride. But as long as you are determined, you know where you are heading to, you know where you want to reach, you will reach there. And this is where I think India is moving into a very, I would say, it's a very dedicated effort which is being done today. The thought process behind it is very clear. Where we want to reach is also very clear. I think everybody in India knows that by 2047 we are, or we want to become a developed country, and we are moving towards that. So I think everything is moving into the right direction. There could be delays, and there will certainly be delays, but believe me, this is going to happen, and we are on the right track.
Do you think that collaborations or I don't think so there will be consolidation in this industry, but will collaborations play a major role in ensuring that the end-to-end supply chain is met?
Very nice question, Prajakta. And this is something which I keep on saying to my team, to everybody I meet, even in the forums I always speak about it, that today is the time for collaboration. Today, you cannot be what you are if you want to do it by yourself. So we have to pick and choose where we are good at, and we have to collaborate with somebody else who is good at something else. This is how the whole supply chain or the whole logistics should be moving, and believe me, it is moving. I would not say in leaps and bounds, but I could see it is happening. Collaboration is very, very important, because supply chain, if you look at it, it's a small word, but it's a long chain, and there are different pockets or different elements which constitute the entire supply chain. no one can say that, okay, I am an expert into everything. It doesn't make sense, because on one hand you want to increase your efficiency, your productivity. On the other hand, you want to reduce your logistics spend. So you have to collaborate. I need to work with somebody who is good at what they are doing. It only adds up to my efficiency. It adds up to my KPIs being met vis-a-vis my customers, and it also helps me in reducing my spend into something which I am not good at but somebody else is good at. This is where the collaboration starts. This is where we bring everybody together, so that a lot of minds come at the table, and we start discussing, and we say that, okay, this is best for the industry, for the manufacturers, for the consumers. And again, going back to the COVID time, I would say this has happened fantastically. It has happened. The guy who is giving you food is not the one who is preparing the food. I mean, I don't want to go too deep into that, but you know what I mean. It's a collaboration. Unless you collaborate, you are not going to create a robust supply chain which brings value, reduces cost, and takes you where it deserves to be.
And that also improves the confidence that the clients would have in you.
Exactly. Because then they look at the complete model being set up by you. And this is where it is very, very important, or very critical, that every element or every part of that supply chain works independently and works at their strength. And I think this is very critical today. We are moving towards that. A lot of things which we are seeing today is where the digitalization is coming, or the technological enhancement is coming. And this is where you need to start collaborating with people who are good at different things. And so I believe, and this is my firm belief, that unless everybody gets into a collaborative mode, we are not going to take this logistics or a supply chain to the level where we want to take.
You mentioned about drones being used these days. How far has the acceptability of drones been in India, and are we really ready for it?
Oh, we are, Prajakta. It's just that we need to be, or let's say not be from the government side of it. They want to put certain things into a proper regulation. Let's say there are always pros and cons of something which you do. And again, not to get too much into that part of it, but I believe it's a fantastic technology today. If you look from why it is required, there are things which are today required in a very, very short span of time. Let's say somebody who is in the hospital, he needs an organ transplant. Drone is a fantastic way to do it. It also is cutting down on a lot of time, and it can be life-saving. Let's say there are many high-value goods which can be used through drone. From the technology point of view, or from something which is new, which is coming up, you cannot stop it, and we should not stop it. We should always encourage these kind of things which are coming. But yes, there has to be a regulation. There has to be a framework where it is to be done, so that they are used and not misused. So this is where I think as a country, yes, we are moving towards it. There are certain challenges. There are certain, let's say, a bit of apprehension with different people. I think we are from the government side of it, they are looking into it. But that is the future, and that is not going to change. Does everything move through the drone? Probably not.
Yeah.
So they will have their own specific segment. They would have all their let's say a niche where the drones are required, and I think this is okay. I mean, this is how the future is unfolding, and this is how when I say the supply chain or the logistics was not there, what it was, it is different today, and it will be very different tomorrow. These are the differences which are coming. And today we are talking about drone. Tomorrow, I don't know what happens. Maybe you can just teleport your goods to something else. I mean, I used to watch the Star Treks when I was a kid, and I could see the transportation, happening. Like you can just move from one part to the other.
Wow, that would be absolutely.
But I think it's very, very important that you need to embrace the advancements, the changes which are happening. As I said, changes are inevitable. It will happen. The disruptions are inevitable, and the disruptions now which are coming and the one which will be coming are way beyond our imagination. So we should be ready for that, and We should not be thinking how it worked 5 years back when we are talking about something which is coming 5 years ahead. That's why it's very, very critical that we embrace these kind of things.
You mentioned about way beyond imagination. One of the things that we are seeing today is AI. How do you imagine or foresee AI being, a major part in today's logistics industry?
When I say the technology in supply chain has got infinite usage, and we can use technology to the level probably we are not able to foresee it even today. Now AI or the blockchain or the machine learning which has come in, it's very, very important in today's supply chain, more so in looking at how the consumers are the preferences are changing, or how the consumers are demanding things today. Now this is where the AI plays a very, very critical role, and it's not just the technology which I'm talking about, it's the change, the way you look at things. It is important. With AI today, you are able to know how the market will shape up, how people are thinking about certain things, how would they realize that this is something which we want today. When I say that today, as a study shows that 50 to 60% of people today are thinking that their supply chain should be greener, or they want to buy products from people who have done something from the sustainability point of view. Now this is a mindset, a mind shift. That's how the consumers are thinking. So if you're not ready through your technological platform like AI to understand how the consumer preferences are changing, you will never be able to change yourself or adapt yourself. This is where I think that AI is playing a very, very important role today. It also creates or gives you the platform for you to come out or innovate, to think about new things, and this is where, as a logistics service provider, I think that we should always be ready, or we should always be thinking probably a couple of years ahead that what we want to do, and start investing it today for that. And that is what it is very critical to have this AI and people who understand this in the industry.
But I don't know whether people generally talk about AI replacing manforce. So is that something that it's a myth that AI will do away with the jobs, or is that going to be just an enabler?
I'm a firm believer in human interface, and let me put it very clear that nothing can replace the human touch or the human interference into the system. What will change basically with all these things, and we can see it's very visible in front of us. We cannot continue to do certain things in the way we have been doing it. So this means that we have to change the way we think, the processes we define, the skill sets which we have today. So the humans have to start thinking from a skill set development point of view. How can they develop their skills? How can they shift their thought process? How can they shape up about thinking what to do next in the year to come or 5 years to come? And this is where I think the human touch will never go away from this industry. Again, I'm not touching on it, but the human mind always wants to interact with humans.
Correct.
And it's not going to change. It will never change, irrespective of how much technology comes in. And we do not want it to change. We still want to have that humans who can understand us, who can listen to us. If something goes wrong, you would always want somebody else on the other side of the phone to be a human who is talking to you.
Correct.
So those things are not going to change. That is important. The technology and all those things are also somewhere down the line, you need people who have got those efficiency to manage them. So managing those things also require a different kind of skill. So humans are not going to get away or go away very soon. What will go away is our old school thoughts. The way we approach it has to change. The way we think it has to change. So this means we have to invest. The way we are investing into let's say the technology, we have to also invest into upskilling or upscaling our manforce to make sure that they are able to come out and start thinking in those ways. We as at Triton, we have got Tri Academy, Triton. And the whole purpose of creating Tri Academy is we want to train those minds today. It's not a kind of a platform where you get reading materials or you get the manuals. It is a platform where we are trying to shape the minds. We are trying to shape them or train them about something which is not what happened 5 years back, but making them ready to start thinking what would happen 5 years ahead, or to start looking at the problems 5 years ahead which doesn't exist today. So not only they have to think about it, they have to also start shaping their mind so that they are able to take those disruptions whenever it comes with the right attitude, with the right set of skills, and do something about it. So in a way, we are creating that kind of a resilience within the system or within the minds, let's say, of the humans, where they are ready and prepared to fight an unknown thing. So that's what we are doing, and I think that is important. All the technologies and everything are here to stay. You cannot go back, and I cannot take a laptop away from you and say start writing on a piece of paper from tomorrow. So those are going to stay there, but the human skills are more important. So everything changes, so it's like a shift. So when the technology shifts, you as human has to be on top of it. The moment you stop learning lesser than the machines, that is the time when the human survival come under questions. Forget about the jobs. So we do not want to get into that situation where the machine starts doing things better and more efficient than humans.
Absolutely. So as you mentioned, change is constant and we need to change. So you earlier mentioned about sustainability. We are seeing a lot of talks about sustainable aviation fuel, but again that comes at a cost. So how can logisticians shift towards sustainable, achieving their sustainable goals when the cost associated with that is also high?
So Prajakta, it's a very burning topic. It's a very burning question, and there are no rights or wrongs about it. And whatever I am saying, it's my personal viewpoint on this. It's something which is there to stay. We need to think about sustainability. We need to think about how we can leave do our part to make sure that we have got an environment or the world which is safer, which is better, and there is a cost involved with it. You can call it an investment, but it's still a cost today. Every investment needs a return, and that's how the business thinks. So it's a business model. How and when this return will come back, there is no clarity on that. When you talk about supply chain, this is not limited to us alone. So the supply chain has got, the name itself says it's a chain. So it starts from the manufacturers, let's say, of the goods to the consumers. And in the entire supply chain, there is a price which needs to be paid if you want to sustain the alternative fuel, or you want to reduce the carbon footprints and those kind of things. So I would say a catch-22 situation here, that what needs to be done. But what I am glad to say here is that there are efforts being done towards that. So there are efforts which are being done from within the organization, because the organization today are realizing the fact that this is one thing where they need to invest as a cost, and they should not consider this where they can get immediate returns. From a manufacturer, it is important for them to understand, and they are understanding, that the production, the supply chain, the usage of the ships or the aircraft, something that is where there will be carbon emission. They have to do something to make sure that they are contributing towards a greener and sustainable future. From the customer point of view, I also said that people like you and I are also getting conscious about it. We are also started talking about sustainability. I have seen there are instances where the customers prefer the brands which take care of, let's say, the earth, or they talk about sustainability. It's the consumer preference. So it's a complete chain, and unless everybody is aligned towards it, there will always be this question that are we moving in the right direction or not. Then apart from this, there are certain regulations or the laws which are coming. The European Union has recently come out with the CBAM, which is now into effect. They are forcing not only the manufacturers to take care of, or let's say take care of the sustainability part, but they are ensuring that the entire supply chain of there is also covered with this. So this means that a customer in Europe, if they are going to deal with somebody in, let's say, in Philippines, they have to make sure that the guy sitting in Philippines also follows the same standard. So there are regulatory pressures, there are laws which are coming in. Indian government is also putting some of the regulations or those things in. Maybe in the next few years you will see that it will not become optional, it will be something which you need to do. So I think it's important. We are realizing it as a supply chain logistics providers. We are quite conscious about it, but as I said, that there are many bottlenecks. Cost is one, but there are many bottlenecks around it. And so as an industry, as I said, that the collaborative approach which you talked about, I think this is one of the area where a collaboration is needed, where everybody has to right from the manufacturers or the raw material supplier up to people like you and me who are consuming, all of us have to sit and say that, okay, this needs to be taken care of. And so we are moving towards that, and if we do not do it, it will be forced upon us. I mean, I'm not talking from the regulation point of view, but the world is not getting any better. So we need to contribute, we need to come out with everything to make sure that these things are taken care of. So at one point of time, it will go beyond just the cost. It will become a necessity.
Talking about cost again, while the big companies, they have the appetite to actually invest into this, how about the MSMEs, because they are also a large part of exporters that India has? So are they also aware about this, and are they actually investing in sustainable operations?
They are aware about it, but yes, cost is a major factor here. And from my point of view, this is where they need support from the government. They need certain support in terms of how through the regulation or through, I don't know, subsidy or through whatever support or means, if the from the government side, if something is done to make sure that they become aware, they take out a part of that cost as an investment to put into this, because sooner or later what will happen is that, as I said, they are manufacturing, or they are the manufacturers for the large players globally. And if India wants to become let's say the supplier of the world, I mean, we have a very strong Make in India initiative which is happening, and which is really giving a lot of benefits and fruits to the Indian economy today. These people needs to be supported because they are the ones who are manufacturing. So if they do not fall into that, let's say EU or any of the European countries come out with those regulations that they force the buyers to only buy from people who are taking care of the let's say sustainability or the ESG practices, they will not be able to sell it to them, I mean, our own manufacturers. So from that standpoint also, I believe it is very important that they need to be supported. There has to be an awareness, and most important, there has to be a drive from within that yes, they want to. It goes beyond, as I said, it's not about the profitability anymore. It's more about caring for something which you do. And I think as India, we have been always very resilient to these kind of things, and we did it many times. We did it where there was changes in how the buyers or the global market reacted, and we were very prompt in reacting in the same way and making sure that we are still there. And I think it will remain the same whenever the situation comes. But yes, they need support. It's very important.
As you have mentioned, what is required. How is Triton, planning to take its journey forward, and what's the way forward for Triton, and what are probably the investments, or what's the way forward basically?
We are a part of Abrao group, so we are one of the let's say the key element in the entire end-to-end solutions with the global capabilities and the local expertise, how I put it. So we are reaching, or we are trying to to reach to the customers, to the industry, as a very sustainable player who comes with a lot of deep insight about various activities what we do. We are very, let's say, an organization which is doing our bit, not only in terms of providing services but also making sure that we are closer to our customers, we are closer to the people who are working for us and the industry as a whole. And there are many things which we as Triton are doing. So business is one part of it. I mean, I can touch that as any organization. We are also a very, let's say, an aggressive business oriented organization. We believe in quality, we believe in the right kind of solutions for the customers, and we keep working towards that. It's an organization where the DNA is built to make sure that we are with the customers the way we want it to be. We listen to our customers. We try to make sure that we are creating certain things which are very important for our customers. So apart from the business side of it, what we are doing today is that we are getting ready for the future. We want to create Triton as an organization which is forward thinking organization, which is looking at that what lies ahead instead of what we have done. So, and that is a very, very important factor for Triton as an organization today. We have got Tri Academy, which I just discussed about. So Tri Academy is about shaping those young minds. We want people to come, not only join us, but be in the industry where they should start learning things, not how it has happened in the past, but how things will happen in the future. How far they can imagine these disruptions can carry it, and are they really prepared for that? So this means we are creating a team which is very resilient to these kind of changes or disruptions. They think in a very strategic way, in a cross-functional way. They do not just stick to one thing, and if that doesn't work, they don't know what to do. We do not want to get into that situation. So Tri Academy is trying to shape up the mind. It's trying to create those kind of professionals who will work with Triton. But more than that, I would like the whole industry to start thinking that way. How the collaborative model works, how this collaboration works. What happens if something you are not able to do, but you can find out somewhere else, and how do you interact with them, collaborate with them, come out with a solution? At the end of the day, they should start thinking that what are alternative ways of doing things if one way stops working. And the disruptions which we are seeing today could be just a port congestion or a geopolitical war or something, but that is today. Tomorrow disruptions, you don't know. It could be anything like a burnout. What happens if there is complete identity loss for a person there, and these are something which is coming with the new generation. Are we able to manage that? Are we creating those kind of a mindset who can shift quickly, adapt themselves, and then they are very resilient and come out with an alternative solution? So that's what Tri Academy is doing in Triton. Apart from that, we have created TriNext, which is a platform where we bring in the industry experts, industry leaders. And this is where we are not talking about cargo movements. This is not what we want to discuss. Everybody knows how to move a cargo. We are bringing these industry experts to talk about what kind of challenges the industry is seeing and it can imagine in the future. What kind of advice these industry experts can give it back to the industry and say that, okay, this is a problem which is not just for this industry, but it's a problem which is a generic problem in a larger scale. So how do we really make sure that we are ready to come out with a solution? And this is where we are. I mean, we want to hear from them what they want. So these are industry people who are sitting there telling us, not only to us, but to the entire world, is that this is what an automotive industry today is facing, and this is what automotive industry might face in the future. So that we all are prepared, or a pharma industry facing today and pharma industry facing in the future. So it's a voice of the industry, for the industry, to the industry, but we are sitting there understanding, going back to our drawing board and making sure that we quickly adapt, give them something what they do not have today. So those are the things which in Triton we are doing. And of course, from the sustainability point of view, we are an asset free or asset light organization. So, but still we do our part on the ESG, that how do we make sure that we create those kind of awareness with our team. Small bits, but what I always say, ESG doesn't mean that only you talk about how do you reduce carbon emission. There are so many things as an organization you can do. Take baby steps. Start thinking in those lines, because this is something which you cultivate as a culture in your organization. There is nothing small or large, but it's the thought process. The moment it gets into your DNA as a thought process, you stop thinking it as a cost, you start thinking as an investment for the future. And this is where I think things will start changing. People will start looking at those sustainable practices, or the greener solutions for the customers, which will become a part of your life or thought process. So this, as a Triton, we are trying to do, and we have come a long way, I would say, but still a long way to go for us, to make sure that we create a very strong and robust supply chain, from point of view of people who are working with us or people who we are working for. And this is how we are trying to get it.
Absolutely, that's great. So basically the message is being resilient through collaboration and through sustainability practices.
Absolutely.
Great. Thank you very much for being with us here today, and it was a great conversation.
Thank you, Prajakta, for inviting me here, and I really loved it. So thank you so much for